Here we go, folks. Severe thunderstorms looking likely. Already development at 11:30 this morning. It's off to our west. A tornado watch has been issued for eastern Oklahoma. Not quite yet for northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. However, the Storm Prediction Center is saying, along with the Tulsa Weather Service, that's likely going to happen later on today. Got Peyton Langford here. Peyton, drinking the death wish, man.
Oh, yeah, earlier than I expected. I knew it was going to be a long day, but I didn't expect it to drink it before probably like noon. So
we knew the energy was subtle, but we knew it was there. The atmosphere fairly uncapped.
That's how we got the tornado tie.
We got the tornado tie on already.
It's been so
we're rocking
weird
it
because the low level shear has been, there's two types of shear. Well, of course, streamwise, crosswise, but there's just straight line shear, and then there's shear that's curved. So you can have different speeds that affect the shear, or you can have just rotational shear. It's been interesting. A couple days ago we were talking about the shear being more like kind of straight line, barely turning. Now it seems, of course, the further south you go towards the River Valley, there's a lot more what looks to be rotation or favorable low-level wind profiles for that tornado threat to tick up, which we've seen in the Storm Prediction Center.
And we're going to get to the latest risk here in just a second. I do want to show you Mega Doppler. A couple things to note. First of all, a tornado watch, you can see it outlined in red. This goes until 6 o'clock in the evening. Look at this. Might be already trying to start to pop with some isolated development just to the southwest of
that
Concord.
isolated cell models we're
Yeah. Now look at all this. This is obviously a little bit of a congealed mess. So that's what we call basically an MCS, a mesoscale convective system. It's not really isolated supercells. This is the beginning stages of this development. So sunshine is bad. When you have sunshine like we're having right now, which as you'll see with our WeatherBug network cameras, there is a lot of sunshine. This is a type of atmosphere where we're seeing sun, and that's leading to warmer weather, and the mugginess is there. We talked about how that potential is going to be there for supercells. So it turns out we rebooted the computers, and I've got to reboot another one because Mega Doppler wasn't showing up when I rebooted. So hopefully that comes back. We're going to bring up the latest severe weather risk. It's coming out here very, very shortly, if not already out. Comes out at 11:30, sometimes just a few minutes after. We'll let that continue to load as we look at additional information. Absolutely. Hail is definitely a concern. Tornadoes are a concern. Severe weather is a concern. Damaging winds, also a concern. We have basically all the concerns that you can have for severe weather. It still is what? 12. Okay, so it's still not quite out yet. But go to NWS chat. We'll be able to see the very latest that pops up on there. And let's see if we can get up the latest severe weather risk. So
right now they're in a conference.
Again? No, that was before.
That was half an hour ago.
Yeah, that's the conference that they had for the tornado watch in eastern Oklahoma. Okay, so here is, we're going to bring up weather 2. This is not the latest risk. I think this is from the earlier risk at 8 o'clock in the morning. There is an enhanced risk of severe weather. I do believe that tornado potential is ticking up a little bit, especially looking at the latest low-level shear. We'll look at some parameters. We'll look at some conditions that are out there. I can tell you the shear is definitely there. You look at the clouds, you can see the clouds absolutely zipping along. Low-level shear is definitely there. And
TJ Lewis, 81 in Fort Smith. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I believe it. Daniel, the sleeves are going to be going up. Not quite yet, but sleeves are going up. Tornado ties on.
Might as well go ahead and crank down the AC.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll load this up and make sure Mega Doppler loads. Please, 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 please work. If it doesn't, we'll have to do some configuring here. But so there's the risk. Now, if we look at the individual threats, just to let you know, there's definitely quite a few of them. So we'll look at the significant hail risk as well as the tornado potential. Good. Mega Doppler's working again. Perfect. Is it working on weather 2? It might not be. We might need to reboot on this too. Let's see. Nope. Oh, yep, it does. Okay, perfect. So there's Mega Doppler, 11:33. A lot of storms happening. Okay, latest risk still not out. Now remember, it's going to be in the. It's going to be under the. Oh, you don't have it. The data feeds.
No,
You
I
got
don't
to
know
get
why.
the. Yeah, you got to get that channel. But you can also go to the Springfield and it'll tell you. So here's the risk, the severe weather risk, possibly updated. Let's see. I'll know by looking at the tornado potential. Looks like it's the same risk. I don't see any change yet. I don't think this is the updated risk yet. So here's the large hail potential. You can see that all over Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley and our entire weather coverage area. Damaging wind potential is there, but it's not as high, and the reason for that is the storms aren't going to quite congeal into an MCS. Here's a look at the day one tour outlook, and notice as we zip in here to Northwest Arkansas. So they kept the enhanced risk. There's no change in that. They really didn't change anything, although I do think that that hatched area for tornadoes makes it a little bit farther north. So really not much of a change from the previous risk. So there's the newest tornado risk. This just got updated at 11:30, and we got all the information on there. The days of smelling the dirt are over.
They just sniffing the dirt.
Yep.
Better than what you sniff.
Yeah. Hey, quiet, Jonas, back there. The sun is peeking out here in the northeast Rogers. Yeah, sun is definitely out for sure. Look at this. The camera's always pointed down, but here's a look at how fast the clouds are moving. You can literally see them, how fast they're moving, and it's just moving along. I think the shear is a lot stronger than what the models were expecting and predicting. Let's get to some meso analysis. Let's look at some data, and then we'll look at some of the short-term models, and we'll get all that information out there. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to load up our computer screen here with the latest information, the meso analysis data, and we'll go ahead and we'll bring that up here. So here's a look at the meso analysis. First of all, look at the amount of instability. 4,000 just to our west. We have a contour of 3,000 over us and 3,500 just to our west. And over time, that's going to continue to build up to 3,500 as isolated supercells. Look at that. That shows an isolated supercell coming through Northwest Arkansas at approximately 22Z, so 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll look at the HRRR here in just a bit. Significant tornado parameter is a 2. If we look at the significant tornado parameter effective layer, this will go over time. So we can look at this. Shear kind of weakens a little bit, but still is there. Although I have my doubts about that, if that really truly does happen. The 0 to ½ kilometer shows that. Look at the 0 to 3 kilometer cape too. That's pretty high over our area.
Should Josh that.
So 0 to 3 kilometer cape, just to let you know what that is essentially the amount of instability in the low levels. Why is that important? Because the low level circulation, the horizontal roll, can get tilted up into the vertical. Go ahead and keep talking. This is our WeatherBug Network camera from Huntsville.
Okay.
Hey, Bailey, what's going on?
Yeah, so looking at the meso analysis, we'll go back to that. Just look at some other composites here. So surface-based cape, as we mentioned, already at 4,000. Not really a cap. That cap's about to break. It's just ever so slightly. You can see it's that kind of peachy color. Almost looks like
Yes, I do.
white. But if you look very closely, you can see those hashed lines there. This cap will eventually break. It won't plot it necessarily here. But again, if you go to mixed layer cape, which is the most likely environment these storms will encounter, it's a little bit more. It's about the same amount of cape, but again, this is probably more expected of what we could see. Now, these storms could be surface based if that cap does break, but if there is just the tiniest little cap, that's what we could be looking at there. So now we'll look at some hail parameters. So
4205.
this is cape and shear. So this is the ability for storms to build.
No,
Let's look at
but you will need to know
Let's
the
go look at the
camera,
hail parameters here. It's the
stand by.
significant hail
You will
parameter.
need to
Pull that
know
up.
the camera
Hang on.
identifier.
Just a second.
Okay.
Okay.
And let me give you that real quick.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so the camera identifier is HNTMD. That's Henry November Tango Mike
The significant
Delta.
hail parameter.
Okay.
All right.
It's trending up. Now we're starting to see a lot more of those reds.
Okay,
We're
thank you,
seeing-
appreciate it. Bye.
We were seeing those darker oranges. Now we're starting to see a little bit more red in that significant
Wow,
hail
look at
parameter.
that.
Yeah, I
Man,
know.
that is going
Look at
up.
that. Yeah,
So models were kind of trending down on that, and now
Look at
that's
that.
clearly not the
that's a
case.
pink or purple.
Yeah. All right. Well, what is the HRRR show? So that was, just to let you know, that was our Weatherbug Network camera in Huntsville. That was the IT guy at the middle school. We're trying to
Nice.
get that online, but I think the PoE, the power over Ethernet injection, is not working anymore.
Oh. Yeah, I remember.
Okay. So we're going to go to Weather 1. We'll bring that up full. In the meantime, we'll remove the meso analysis. Let's go through time here. And
Let's go in and zoom out a little bit. See how it's handling the stuff just near Oklahoma City.
now you could do that without all the data on there. Because when you zoom out, all that data will remain on there. Go to this one right here. There we go. And now you can get out and zoom out. Looks like it's underdoing it, if you ask me. But it does have that development, not too bad. So
close.
that's what it shows at noon. That's what's happening right now.
Trying to get a little isolated shower.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what happens over time as we step forward.
These are looking pretty discreet.
Ooh, boy, those are isolated supercells, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that. That's that one that comes through about 4 o'clock in the afternoon with some other isolated storms.
Around 4 or 5 o'clock.
Temperatures
right
are
through
way
Arkansas.
off on the HRRR. What did it show?
bet.
Low 70s?
Yeah.
That's
low
what you were showing.
70s.
That's what you were showing. And
Mhm.
we're already 80 degrees.
Yeah. This is 6 o'clock. Coming a little bit more congealed, especially through the river valley. Oh, man.
So you're seeing the time frame right now, Holly. All you got to do is look at the screen on the computer
go back a
model
little bit.
forecast, and you see the time at the top of the screen.
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. People getting kids from elementary school, people headed home.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty dangerous, especially if you have golf balls being thrown from the sky, not just falling. They're going to be thrown from the sky. So it looks to be a little bit more congealed around dinner time. Of course, you want to find a safe place, especially for your vehicle if you can. Covered gas station works. You, me, and Josh use those a lot on storm chasing and try to save our vehicles.
Yeah.
That's going to be the safe spot. And then later on, this is going to be pretty fast moving. So we're still looking at some pretty widespread storms, even around the 10 o'clock hour. And then that's when it gets more towards central Arkansas. And at that time, the low-level jet kicks in. That's where the tornado threat really ramps up if those storms can't hang on.
If they could still remain discreet, isolated.
Yes.
I still think QLCS tornadoes, and we got a lot of research. We've done a lot of, let's just say studying on QLCS tornadoes, and that is going to be a possibility. So people, again, are asking questions about individual cities, and I can't stress this enough.
It's everybody. Everybody has the same exact probability.
And the potential.
Yep.
But the problem is that potential might not be realized if there's no storm that moves over. So it's all about where the storms develop. Now, if you can tell on Heil Heating Cooling Mega Doppler, there's a lot of storms, and there's already considerable as well. Considerable is where you have a storm that's golf ball size hail and or 70-mile-an-hour winds, and I bet you it's the 2-inch hail. That's the threat, 60 knots too. So that's close to 70 miles an hour. So you got winds and hail, 2 considerable severe thunderstorm warnings. Not tornadoing yet, but remember that low-level shear will continue to crank up. But there's the tornado watch. If we look at the individual parameters, by the way, I'll read this off to you because I know it's kind of hard to see. But what we have here is probability of 2 or more tornadoes is at 50%.
Within that entire area.
With that entire watch. EF2 to EF5 tornadoes is 30%. If we look at hail over 1 inch is 80%. The number of events, severe weather events, whether that be hail, tornado, or wind damage, is 95%.
You can probably almost bump that up to 100.
Max hail size is basically 3 inches. That's what they're saying. Tops of the storms are going to be 45,000 feet. It is not a particularly dangerous situation. Watch. It's a PDS no. So you can see that at the very bottom. Motion of these storms about 35 knots. So let's show some other computer models. That's one. Let's look at the graph 3 kilometer. Now that there's actually storms that have popped up, let's see how it's doing. And it's not doing too shabby. There's the storm activity, but see, it also develops that storm a little bit early, I think, because it's already got development essentially in northeast Oklahoma. So you can see it right there. That's overdone because Mega Doppler is showing this right here, and it's capped.
Those temperatures still aren't right.
You could tell it's capped. I know. They just temperatures have
Even though it's overdoing it.
really struggled. So this could be a developing storm. It's trying, but I do believe it's capped.
Ever so slightly.
Now, if we look off to the west from Fulbright Junior High, let's take that camera and point it west because we want to go due west, not northwest. Let's see if we can see that storm. How about over Decatur? Is it raining? Well, not really.
Not really.
But that's like almost directly over. Yeah, Fulbright and point it west. There we go. So you see the west view. Don't see any really development. There's definitely a little bit more cloud cover. So, yeah, Allison, I mean, we're talking some serious hail potential. In fact, let me show you this. This is the you're not going to see that because that's going to be the day 2 one. So let me bring up the day 1 outlook, and you can see what I'm talking about. Don't know if this has been updated or not. Let's see. Yes, it has. Okay, so if we look at the individual threats and the areas that are included, you'll notice, first of all, tornado potential. The tornado potential is hatched area. That includes parts of northwest Arkansas, including Newton County and Madison County and the River Valley. Now, you mentioned Reed Timmer going to the River Valley. Well, that makes sense because you have a little bit more fuel. You have a little bit of a larger area of that hatched area for tornadoes. The damaging hail potential, it's all over. As Peyton mentioned, everyone has the risk of seeing large hail over 2 inches in diameter. That's that hatched area. And the damaging wind potential is there as well. So that is a look at the latest threats according to the Storm Prediction Center. If we look at the day 1 outlook, and we got to adjust all these graphics here. Let me get rid of that. So now you can see that also, too, they did expand the moderate risk like we predicted. I mean, the enhanced, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you, Peyton. They expanded the enhanced risk to the southwest, as we predicted, into eastern Oklahoma because they had it too far east, remember, yesterday, and we were saying how that would expand. It does feel like tornado weather, as Jacob said. It really does.
I told Dan earlier, it feels like a summer day in Houston back home. That's not a good sign for Northwest Arkansas.
No. Now let's look at, this is what I like to look at. I call it looking out the window. And when we look out the window, we look at the water vapor. Water vapor is key. So we're going to look at this, and
high res.
We'll look at the high res too, but I just want to look at the long range here, the larger. So here's a look at the water vapor, and you can see definitely some energy working its way in, and it didn't take long. Look at that, man. That stuff just blew up. And as Peyton mentioned, we do have high res. So this is the high res water vapor. And boy, you can see those cloud tops really exploding. We're about to get the anvils from these storms, and that's another thing too. That is another thing that could influence our temperatures because these anvils that come overhead. Number one, you're going to see mammatus clouds. Mammatus clouds are those clouds that kind of look like, just basically like
pearls, or like
the underneath of a cow udder. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Mammatus. That's really honestly the Latin word. So cow udder. So it looks like basically udders from a cow and you see those little balls underneath. Essentially, they're suspended from the updraft from the anvil. Now we've got that on the water vapor. I can't really see any type of energy swinging in because it's all embedded, but there's that little subtle short wave. It does appear that there is another one coming in. You can kind of see it right here at the very end, but it is subtle energy. So that's why it's questionable how much storm development will occur. But hey, it's already occurring, so we already know it's happening. Here's a look at I do believe we'll probably be in the mesosector number 1. So let's let that load and see what happens.
The upper level shear might be, ripping these storms apart. You see how fast those anvils were taken off.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe not super
3,000
crazy.
Cape, yeah.
Maybe not super crazy, like absolutely destroying them. But it's going to definitely move those anvils out ahead of the storms.
Yeah. Which can cool you off. There, look at that. You can really see the explosion of thunderstorms. You can also see the boundary, how it's dropping south. So there's the look at the high resolution satellite imagery. This is, by the way, the 1-minute satellite updates. So if we look at the mesosector number 1, as this loads, you're going to see infrared, which will show you the cold cloud tops. So there you go. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, that is an explosion of thunderstorms. It's just taking a while for the data to load.
I'm curious how tall they are right now.
Look at that. Man, that didn't take long. All right, we got a bunch of questions here. And while you're doing that, I'm going to those storms blew straight up. I haven't looked at lapse rates. Lapse rates are crazy, and we can look at that too. Let's go ahead and we'll go to this again, and we'll take a look at the meso-analysis. And when we look at thermodynamics, this is what we mean by mid-level lapse rates. So 7.5 to 8 is the mid-level lapse rates. The low-level lapse rates are 6.5 to 7, which is extremely steep in terms of how quick. What that means is how fast the temperature cools aloft. So that's what a lapse rate is. And we look at the LCL heights. They're extremely low.
These storms are already 45,000 feet.
45,000 feet, yep. And you can also do this too when we go to echo tops. And you can look over here, and there you are. 47,000 feet on that one. Man, it's definitely some tall thunderstorms. However, I will say this. Looking at the radar right now, looking at the radar right now, when we look at Mega Doppler, this is kind of a little bit of a congealed cluster of storms. I don't see any supercell that's taking over. Now, if this happens, that would be good news in terms of the large hail production. What's going on with this computer? It's running really slow again.
Yeah. Do we need to restart that?
Probably need to restart this. I thought we did it not too long ago, but it seems to be really bogging down. We got a lot of people on here. But really, honestly, that's what we're looking at. And if we want to look at some more on the timing, I think we're only like maybe 3 hours away from thunderstorms rolling into northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
So let's look at this on the timing. Go back to this.
Little overdone.
Yep, a little overdone. What we'll do is we'll zoom in on this. Got to delete the camera views. So here's a look at what happens. We'll zoom in. It's not only overdone, but it's kind of making it into a supercell, which remains to be seen. It also has thunderstorms already at noon, and that's not happening. So it's a little overdone, and the temperatures are too cool. And this is exactly why you can't just look at computer model forecast and the future radar and say, you want to know what storm's going to move over where? You can't. This is a great example.
When it comes to the day of, you can't even. That's why you have to do what's called nowcasting, which is looking out the window, looking at the meso-analysis, because you can't rely on models. It's almost too late for that.
Look at this. If we were looking at this for yesterday and people are like, what about Siloam Springs? What about Gravette? What about Gentry? What about Decatur? This shows a lot of storms, but then you go to the radar. What's actually happening right now is just this tiny little thing that's not storming. Totally different.
Mhm.
Then you have a chain reaction. So because of this cools off the atmosphere, eats away at the instability, and then these storms that come in from the southwest are weaker, which is exactly what that shows. Then it shows additional storms coming in at 2 o'clock, but we don't even know what they're going to be like.
Yeah, we don't have the storms right now, so it's not eating away at that instability.
Yeah.
Still seeing a lot of warming at the surface, so the storms later could be stronger. It's that chain reaction forecast. You're exactly right.
And you can actually see this. This is the instability here. And if we zoom in, you're going to see the pop-up of a storm, which kills the instability right there. See? Look at that over Bella Vista. So that's supposed to be happening because of that storm, but that's not really what's taking place. So who knows? Honestly. That's why we can't look at these high-resolution computer models. And then remember the 3-kilometer NAM, who didn't have anything, had no storms in Oklahoma. Now it's way underdone. You can barely see any storms to the west. And then you see the storm activity move in, but it looks weak, and then it kind of eventually, develops. So what you look at here with this is you look at the trends. You look at, okay, well, there's a chance of storms, but you can't just look at these things. And this is exactly why we can't answer specific cities.
Right.
Like Seligman. Once the storms develop, that's when we can start tracking the storms.
Yeah. Once
And
they
we can
actually
let
develop.
you know.
Mm.
Nothing is unloading the gun right now. These storms to the west could be moving into more favorable thermodynamics. They can, absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
And of course, models are way too cool.
Yep.
So that surface-based instability, underdone.
Look at that. Dew points were underdone too. It only had low 6. Oh, it just jumped up to 64.
Wow.
64 is a really high dew point, folks. That is up there. If we look at this, check this out. 64, 65. We are primed for severe weather. Yeah, Joplin was a real specific event. A lot of mesoscale parameters came together. And so you can't really, that happened. And it's all these little small scale details that have to come together. And you can't predict those mesoscale features. Are the ingredients similar? A little less than what Joplin was.
Sorry, Josh is texting me.
Yeah, no, Josh Weisel.
Yeah.
No problem.
Just told him to text me when he's here.
So here's a look at the, once again, the upper level energy. Model doesn't show any, but it does have that little short wave coming through, and that was enough to spark off storms, and then there's additional waves of energy. And so it's a great question. I just got on here. Have you explained how the sun stirs the things for the newbies? So essentially what the sun is doing is it's heating up the atmosphere. The more you heat up the atmosphere, the more fuel you have available for these thunderstorms, known as CAPE, convective available to potential energy. Now, this is what a model-derived CAPE outlook looks like. And when we go to our mesoanalysis again, that I'm going to add to the stage so you guys can see this. And what I'll do is I'll bring this up full so you can see. But essentially, when your temperatures start warming, then you get thermodynamics and you get more instability. So this is the fuel for thunderstorms. This is basically the potential for an air parcel to rise and continue to rise all the way to the equilibrium level. And that's exactly what we have. If we look at the effective tornado parameter, it's at a 2. New mesoanalysis will be coming out shortly. So we'll continue to load that. The 925 winds are not super strong. They're 25 knots, and they're out of the south-southwest. So with storms moving to the northeast, that is not a very favorable critical angle for tornadoes. Right. If the storms move more easterly and right turn, that's when we'll have to watch for the potential for tornadoes. So you got to be looking for those. Here's a conditional prop. There's so many different parameters that you can look at. Here's the violent tornado parameter. So that's up there. And you can see the parameters showing 3, 4, 5 all across the area. And violent tornado parameter is a lot of mixed layer CAPE, which we have, mixed layer SIN too, which is basically non-existent.
Right.
So we have a ticking time bomb with our atmosphere. At any time,
loaded
storms
gun.
can pop. That's exactly what we've got. Loaded gun. Look at the rising motion that's out ahead of it. One last thing I do want to look at is what's called the comp map. So we'll look at what we call, we'll go to forecast tools. We'll go to the composite map. Let's see if we can see those little waves of energy swinging in. And not really anything there. But this is going to come through throughout the afternoon, and that's going to be the forcing.
You can see a little dip.
Little dip, little ripple right there.
Go to the vertical motion. What does this show?
And it's
right
there.
below it.
Yeah, it's there.
Yep.
So a lot of rising motion, a lot of jet stream energy. And we are in the left. We're in the right entrance region of the jet. So there's the jet core, there's the jet quadrant, and there it is. That's the right entrance region.
A little bit diffluence over southern Missouri.
Yeah, that as well.
Maybe
And even over
northeastern
us.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, you can see the diffluence because the air is flowing this way, and then the air is flowing this way. So it's essentially spreading apart.
Which means
Rising
you get
motion.
more rising motion.
Yep. There's the dry line off to the west. So it is always a question as to if storms will develop. Now, we know that's obviously the case right now. So that's the reason for the sun stirs up the atmosphere, the daytime heating, breaks in the clouds, equals sunshine. You're never going to have a totally clear sky in a severe weather day. And the reason for that is you got a cumulus field.
Mm-hmm.
You get cumulus clouds. Look at that. Those are some cumulus clouds. Now, the instability is a little less the farther east you go as of now, but that'll change a little bit later.
Right.
So this is a question that I know a lot of people are asking. Picking up kids early from school. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. I think the storms might be here a little bit after 3 o'clock, but it will be very close.
Yeah.
If
Definitely.
additional storms pop up, then we could be looking at storms before 3 o'clock. However, the parameters are there that you don't want to be out on the roads if these storms come rolling in.
No, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that about covers this Facebook Live. We went through the latest risk. We went through the no real change in the severe weather risk. If you want to see what that is, you can watch the replay. We talked about it at the very beginning of the newscast. The timing, if we break down exactly what's expected to happen, there's a look at the precipitation that ramps up, obviously. We'll have to adjust Friday. The model's trying to add some stuff in there. Trash. We got to get that out of there. So last night, the models were showing the upper level energy not ejecting in a favorable manner. I'm guessing that's changed in the latest runs. Well, the models did produce storms. They've always have. But it's not a true large area of focus, if that makes sense. So it's complicated. It's tricky. The weather is a tricky animal, essentially. So
Cruel mistress.
Here's the deal, though. At 3 o'clock, we're going to be able to look at the severe weather potential. The newest update will be out as well from the Storm Prediction Center. Also, if other storms form a little earlier than expected, well, then obviously we're going to hop on here. I do want to look at something real quick. This is a product that we're beta testing. It's called StormNet. A lot of people have heard about this. Let's look at the 3-hour tornado potential. And so there's a look at the latest 3-hour tornado potential that obviously shows right along the leading edge of the storms because there's nothing over us. If we look at the wind threat, clearly that's a very large wind threat. And if we look at the hail potential, that's also right there, biggest southwest of Ardmore. So nothing really in effect right now that's showing up, but
Good old Ardmore.
Yep, there's that tornado watch. And then we look at the 3-hour tornado potential. So we'll be monitoring this and watching this. This is called StormNet. Andrew Brady is a guy that developed this, and we've got a nice little data set so we can watch it. So breaking up into supercells. Not quite yet, I don't think. I think it's more an MCS. Eventually, though, that shear will be parallel or perpendicular to the dry line as the westerlies come in. Look at that, already flash flooding potential too. So this just shows you when these storms develop, they're going to be really heavy rainmakers. And we already have flash flood warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings over the same area. So there you have it. Now that's a supercell down by Tatum and west of Ardmore. Those are isolated supercells. All right, guys. We'll be back with another update soon. We will catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. And definitely some pretty nasty storms
Be
likely
safe, be
this
weather
afternoon.
aware. Download your Weather Authority app for all the notifications and things of that nature.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be on top of this.
I also want to show you another thing too, real quick. We haven't had a lot of time to, let's just say, promote this because of everything that's been going on. But we do have a thing called Weather Call Next Gen. If you really want to have peace of mind for severe weather and severe weather potential, this is actually a really cool service. Now, you get what you pay for in a lot of free services, but if you want to know if you're right in the path of a storm, this is where you're going to need to go. So let me go ahead and bring that up here real fast. This is called Weather Call Next Gen. I'll show you where to get it. What you're going to do is go to NWA homepage, which is knwa.com. And then you go to the weather tab and you'll see it right down here, Weather Call. Weather Call Next Gen, what it does is it's going to call you and alert you if you are in the path of the warning. It will also let you know when a confirmed tornado has been reported, whereas a lot of other services won't. They don't tell you. The message is kind of hidden in the weeds. We also let you know about large hail too, which is going to be a possibility. So if you want to do this, you go down here, Weather Call at home, Weather Call Next Gen. You're going to register for that, and it's pretty awesome.
I think the biggest thing is the peace of mind when it gives you the all clear call.
Yeah,
because you're just in there. You don't know how long. Especially if you lose like power, you can't watch the TV. So you got to be able to know when it's all clear, and
it does that.
Will give you that.
It gives you the all clear. And another thing too is that it'll call landline phones. If you're out in the rural areas and your cell service is very poor, which can happen quite often during severe weather potential, this is a great source. So
especially if Wi-Fi goes out.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it, but Weather Call Next Gen is what it's called. It'll have a recorded voice from me saying exactly what the threat is, where the threat is. It'll give you along with a notification. Now, you can also download our Weather Authority app because that's another source of warning. You want to have at least 3 sources of warning.
Multiple ways.
Yeah.
I know it can seem annoying. I get it, getting bombarded with notifications and things of that nature, but you have to have all these different fail safes.
That's right.
Essentially. So
again, knwa.com, click on the weather tab, go to Weather Call Next Gen. And for $1 a month, that's it. $1 a month, peace of mind, and set it and forget it. That's the way it works, and it'll keep your location. So, very, very cool service. It is exclusive to us at KNWA Fox 24. We're the only ones that have it, and you'll be hearing more about it. We had it before in the past. They've upgraded it and they made it a lot different. BC Alert is a little bit of an issue because there's bugs with that. There's some things that don't work, and the call centers can be overwhelmed too, where you could get a call a lot later. So anyways, enough of that plug. I just wanted to let you know about that and that service. One last look at Mega Doppler shows thunderstorms continuing to be severe, moving northeast, and that's a large area of storms. We'll see if that starts breaking apart into supercells. As of now, it's more of an MCS, which will be heavy rain, some smaller hail, and the potential for some damaging winds. Tornadoes, probably not as much on that. Can I borrow a bucket, please? Yeah, we need that for sure. Yeah, we're gonna have a bucket that's filled with rain. He lost his weather bucket. So, yeah. All right, guys. take care. Have a good one. Got to jump off this. Got to get ready for other stuff, and we'll continue to update you. But keep you here with your weather authority for the latest severe weather information. Peyton, I, and Zach, we got you covered. Catch you later.